Hi everyone, it's Kate. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another episode of Just a Tip Tuesday, where I am sharing tips and tricks for fun things to do with your stickers. We are starting the series off with some printable tips. We will be moving into other things in a couple weeks as well, but today I want to show you how you can easily crop your printable stickers so that you only have the bits that you want to maximize your printing and cutting space. So let's jump right in. I'm going to show you how to do this in Silhouette Studio, and then I'm going to show you how to do it in Cricut Design Space. So I'm going to show you how to do this on this sheet of full boxes from my shop. However, you can do this with any printables that you purchase, assuming they've come with the Silhouette cut file, which most of them do. So you can use this. I'm also going to show you on this Planner Pixie Co kit how you can do it with kits that come more on one whole sheet like this, which is how the majority of printable kits do still come, I believe. Mine are formatted a little bit differently. I explained that in the last video, which if you haven't checked out, I will leave a link for it and check that one out. It is just a crash course in printing and cutting stickers from my shop, but obviously will work with most print and cut stickers. So if your kit comes like this, or whether it comes in individual sheets like mine do, these same processes will apply. So we're going to come back to this one in a second. We're going to start with this one. Now, I have just noticed that my image of the stickers is in front of the cut lines and I want it to be in the back. So I'm going to move it to the back so that we can see that blue line around it. And then if you zoom way in, you can see the red lines around each of the sticker boxes themselves. All right, I'm going to zoom out a little bit because the first thing that we need to do is to ungroup these cut lines. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we're going to do. There are two ways to do this. There's probably a million ways to do this, but there are two main ways that I do this. One is using the cut lines themselves to crop certain things out. The other is using a knife tool to manually choose the bits that you want to cut out. With both of those, part of what you're going to have to do is ungroup the cut lines if they are grouped, and you're going to want to remove this outside line, because if you don't, it's going to crop based on that, not the actual sticker lines themselves. So there are a few ways that you can do this depending on the version of Silhouette that you have. If you want to keep that outside cut line because you want to put together your own little sheet of stickers, you can just move it off to the side. If you've got one of the upgraded versions of Silhouette, there's a layers panel here over on the right. You can click that. Everything right now is on the same layer, and Silhouette is not really clean with its layers, but they're there. It all works. You could create a new layer on top for that outside cut line and then just find where it is in here. It's all grouped. So we're going to ungroup it here a few times until it's no longer grouped at all. There we go. And then select that and find it. So it's this polygon line. You could pull it up to this layer here, which is on top, and then just turn off the little eye, which is just going to make it not show. It will still be there when you turn it back on. If you don't have an upgraded version of Silhouette Studio, then you won't have this layers panel, and that's fine. You really don't need this line. You could redraw it in if you want it afterwards, but if you're trying to maximize the space on the page, you're probably not going to want it at all. So I'm just going to hit delete to delete that one. And what I'm talking about when I'm talking about maximizing the space that you have is that you've got this whole space here within these margins, and these margins are actually on the larger side. Like you could make these even smaller. I used to do all of mine at 3.94, and then you have all of this space. But if you are just printing and cutting from a kit the way that it comes, there's a lot of space like here that you could put stuff. These margins are also quite big, so you could change these to like 0.5 even, which gives you more space, or 0.375, like, and then it's even more space. If you want to fill that up, you're not going to want the outside cut line of this little sticker sheet anyway. So What we're going to do now, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, is each of these boxes here, if I move one out, you can see that it's a red rectangle. Each of these is what the machine uses to cut out the sticker shape, right? But what it will also do is act as a guide essentially for telling the software what to do with the background with some special tools. So if you've never looked at this panel before, it's called the modify panel. It looks just like this over here. You're going to open that up, and then what you have is weld, subtract all, divide, crop, intersect, subtract, make, release, detach lines, all of the things. They all do slightly different things. They're all going to have slightly different results. The one that you're going to use for this purpose is crop. So what you do essentially is just select it all, and you do want to make sure that your cut lines aren't grouped, which we can see up here that they're not. You're going to select the whole thing, including the image, and if you click crop, it's going to take away everything outside of those cut lines. So if I undo that, you see that the branding bar on the sheet and the outside bleed that gives you the little bit of margin for error with the cutter, it all disappears when you do that, because all it's going to leave you with is what's inside those red boxes. So if I click crop again, there you can see now, instead of one sticker sheet, these are all individual stickers. So that is one way where, say you just wanted these two, let me just back up so I can line these back up. Say you just wanted this double box here. You could take those, group them together, and just move them up to this part of the sheet. And then say you also want this pretty tree, you could bring that one up and line it up there. And then the rest you could just delete. And now you have the 3 boxes from that sheet that you want without having all 8 boxes, as well as the branding and the outer cut lines and all of that stuff. And what you would do from here is just add, so if you select them all and go into the lines panel here, you could add a red cut line around each of them. And if you zoom in, you can see that there is that red outline around each of those boxes. So that's as simple as it gets for cropping using the cut lines. You can do this with anything. I'll show you quickly with the Planner Pixie Co one. So what I'm going to do is select it all, and then I'm going to ungroup probably a couple times because I think they're grouped a few times. Now nothing is grouped. I'm going to select these outer boxes, not the actual image. I'm going to delete those. And then what I have here is just the cut lines around the stickers. If I select everything and click crop, it's taken away all of this and all of the outside stuff. So if you move this whole thing over now, you'll see where there are gaps where the bleed was before. So there's no longer a bleed around the box, but if this is the box you want, you can drag it over here, you can rotate it, you can add your cut line around it over here. And that, I mean, you could print and cut just that box if you wanted. Obviously, the point of this is to fill up the page, but you get the point that you can pick and choose the bits you want. So if you want these patterned headers and you don't want these ones, well, then just grab these ones and move them where you want them, add your red lines, and you're ready to print and cut. Same thing if you only want one weekly tracker instead of 2, just move it over and add the cut line. Say you want just a sheet of these, you can easily do that by pulling these over. I'm going to rotate them just to make them a little bit easier to use, and then I'll move these to the side quickly. What you can do with these, so let's add our cut line so we can see the outline on them. On these ones, you do get that bleed because it's built into the sticker. There's supposed to be a white outline on it. So say I group these. You can either copy and paste just Control C, Control V a whole bunch of times and place them on the page where you want them. Or you can use the replicate panel, which is over here. I'll just pull it over here. And this is where it will just duplicate what you have selected. So say I want to fill the whole sheet with these. I'm going to select the one that's on here. I'm going to move it up as high as I can and over to the left as much as I can, leaving a little bit of leeway there. And then I'm going to hit this button here, which is the duplicate right button. And what that's going to do is add a whole bunch of duplicates. The other thing you can do if you know you want to add a whole bunch of them is to add like a row of 4 like this. So it's creating more and more of them, and you can fill up your sheet. Now, these are going to be a little bit too close together to be able to cut. It's gonna end up a mess. All you need to do for this is just delete a few of them. So I'm gonna delete 3, and I'm actually gonna move this one over just a tiny bit so that it's right at the edge. And now we have this gap here, but we can use another tool in Silhouette to fill in that gap and spread these out. So what you do there is you just select all of the columns that you have here of to-do strips, and then you're going to come up here to the, I would call this the align panel. I don't know what Silhouette actually calls it, but you're going to come up here and you're going to choose this button here. Now, if you've never used either of these are the spacing buttons. So these ones align left, align center, align right, top, bottom, etc. These ones space out what's on the page. And how it does that is it takes the space between the outer two and spaces everything out evenly between them. If you've never used this tool, this is magical. So rather than doing all of that by hand, you're just going to hit space horizontal, and it just spaced them all out for me. Now, I still think that needs a little bit more space in it. You could probably get away with that, but I'm going to delete 2 more from the middle there, and then I'm going to do the same thing again. And that is a nice amount of space between each one. Again, every cutter is different. I talked about this in the last video, that every cutter is different and yours may need a little bit more space between them. But the nice part about this tool is that you can just keep editing as you need to. So, if you need to take out 2 more and then space them out, then do that. There's a little bit more space between them. Every space between them is even, which is nice when you're laying out a sheet of stickers, right? And then the other thing that you can do if you want it centered in the middle of the page, because there is a little bit more space on this side than there is here, is you can grab that and group them, Control or Command G, or you can press this button up here, and then you can use this align center button. And if you watch, the whole group of them is going to move a little bit to the left so that it centers it. There, so that was minute, but if you had them, say, over here, and you clicked that center button, it would move them back to the middle. So that's how you use that replicate tool and then the spacing tool. The other thing that you can do if you want a full sheet of these is ungroup that. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so I have a bit more space to work. You can take one of these and just Control or Command C and then Control Command V for copy and paste. Pull this one down because there is space down here, but there isn't enough space for a full row of them. But you can rotate it sideways. So if you drag this green button around and hold the Shift key down, it's going to pull it in. Like it's going to keep it aligned. It's going to snap to these, that's 0 degrees, or I guess that would be 90 degrees. This would be 0, etc. So it'll be straight and not on an angle there. And then you could just do the same thing that you did with the other ones. I'm going to align this to the center first before I start. And then I could just use this replicate tool here to add a bunch more of them. So probably that's one more than I actually want. And then I'm just going to move this down. I'm just arrowing it down close-ish to the bottom of the red line there. And then I'm going to select just these ones because we don't want it to vertical space with all of them. and I'm going to choose the vertical spacing this time, and it's going to space all of them out appropriately as well. The other thing you can do, obviously, is to ungroup each one of these, and then you could copy and paste the same colors again to make a longer column of them. But you don't have to do that. If you want a quick and easy way to fill the sheet, you still get many rows of to-do strips down here as well. All right, the other thing I'm going to show you using some of these elements is the fact that you can combine more than one sheet together. So I have over here my 3 boxes that I want to use. Maybe over here, I think, you know what, that color, this fuchsia would work really well with that. And I need a to-do list. I have a bill due the week that I'm using that. I think I'd like a habit tracker. And then I would also like a few of these boxes here. Now I've just selected those by clicking one and then holding down the shift key and clicking the other ones that I want. Maybe I'll take a few of these flags as well. And you know what? We'll take this box as well. So all I'm going to do now, I've selected the ones that I want. I can just drag those away. So if I'm using this sheet here, I can just drag them onto it, but I'm actually going to combine them with the other sheet that I've been working on here. So I have these selected. I'm going to Control or Command C for copy, and I'm going to go over into this tab here, and I'm going to Command Control V for paste. And what that does is it brings all of those elements from the other page into this one. And now, before I deselect those, I'm going to add the red line for the cut line right away so I don't forget. And now I can rearrange everything the way that I want it on the page. So maybe I'm doing a daily planner layout and I know that these are the boxes that I want to use for that. So I can arrange them any way that I want, that I think makes sense for me. I'm going to pull that one around and put it there. Maybe we will rotate these and we will put them here. And I think I'll put these here. I will rotate that one. That one can probably go right there. And then we could put our flags just there. We could make another one of these if we want by copying and pasting this. Say we want 3 flags, and maybe we want another one of these boxes, so we will just copy and paste that and put it there and just align things however we want to that makes sense for us. But we've taken this whole sheet here and the whole sheet of full boxes and reduced it to just this, which if you group them, then you can place the entire thing as far up, as close to the margins as you can get. That's a little too high with the do this at the top. But now you've got, so if that's all you want for the day in your daily planner, it's only taking up like 1/3 of the sheet, and you could potentially get 2 more days worth of stickers on this same sheet. So you can see how it would save you a ton of space, a ton of paper, ink, you know, the blade on your cutting machine, all of that, if you're only printing and cutting the stickers that you specifically want from that sheet. And again, if you want more than one copy of this, use your replicate button and pull that down. This one specifically, we would only get 2 on a sheet, but say we wanted 3 and we didn't care if we had, say, these 3 boxes there, you could move those out, group these again and replicate, and it would easily fit another. And you can come way down into, as long as you're, I mean, I have put sheets over those gray hatch marks and had some success with cutting, but if you don't want to mess with that and you don't want to have to put like post-it notes over it and anyway, it's a whole thing, then just stay outside of the crosshatch marks there. And so you can play around with it. So you know that you're free and clear here. If you want to bring that down a little bit, you can do that. And then again, you can select them all and use your vertical spacing tool to space them out on the page. And that will put an equal amount of space between each of the grouped elements. So that's all it takes to do that. There is one downside to doing it this way, and that is that you lose that bleed on your stickers. So I'm going to show you now how to do it without losing that bleed, which is very helpful if you have a machine that's a little bit less accurate on the cuts and you don't want to end up with a white border around any of them. All right, so I have returned our sticker sheet to its original form. And the first thing that I'm going to do again is just ungroup anything that is grouped. And then, like with the last step, I am going to delete this outer cut. One quick thing to note is that sometimes these sheets will come, not mine specifically, but printable sheets in general will come with the outside line kind of welded to it. So in this one, you can pull this outside line out, but in some, it is just a line outside of on the outside of the box. You can always detach that by coming to this modify panel, which is this one here, and clicking detach lines. And that would make it its own separate piece if it wasn't already. On mine, you don't need to worry about that. So you can just delete that blue line. And again, what we're left with is the red lines. So for this one, we want to zoom in. If you want to keep that bleed on your stickers, you're going to need to do a little bit more manual work to it. So we can see that the cut lines are here, and we can actually, if it's easier, let's say we're going to cut this one out here. I'm just going to fill that box in with a solid color so that I can see around it and know that I'm not going to touch it when I'm messing with the box. And what you're going to do is come over here and select the knife tool. Now, the knife tool is a little bit finicky. You have to sort of play around and figure out where exactly the line is, because it's not always where, see, right now I am pulling down on this cut line, like the knife tool, but the actual line is like almost a 1/4 inch over from the actual little knife icon. So that's something that you need to play around with and be aware of when you are using this tool. What you're going to do is you're going to figure out where that line's going to go, and you're going to cut around the outside of the sticker design, not the outside of the box. So the easiest way for me to do this is to zoom in, and I'm going to hold down my shift key, and I'm going to figure out where that line needs to go. And it's going to be a bit of trial and error. So I'm just going to drag it across there for now. That's one line. We'll see where that ended up. I think it was kind of where I wanted it to be. And then I need to cut this line down as well. So I'm just going to start here-ish and pull my blade down. Now, one thing to remember is that you also do have to get the edge of the sheet. So right now, if I click on where I've cut out, it is going to cut out that white part on the sheet. Had I started my cut line here, it would still be attached to the rest of the sheet. I'll show you that one in a second. But now all you need to do is select this, and then I'm just going to slide that over, and I can pull this one out. And if we take the color fill out of that, we have a box with the bleed still on it. And then what I can do here is just clean it up a little bit. And, oh, that didn't go all the way through. You can use your K button as a shortcut. Oh, the line is, okay, that cut right through it. I'm just gonna, I think I can just delete that. Let's try that again. We're just gonna cut right through here, and then I'm going to delete all the little bits around it. So it's not perfectly, cut around. There's more white here than there is down here. That's fine. It doesn't matter, because when you print and cut, you're gonna have that outer bleed, which gives you a little bit of leeway with your cutting machine if it's not super accurate, and you only have the bit that you want. Let me show you what happens if you don't cut through the edge of the page as well. So I am going to take these two cut lines, no, it's not that, and I'm going to fill them with blue just so that for me, it just gives me a bit of a frame to work around. So say I want to start with this line here, and I know here's where my bleed ends, so I'm going to pull my knife down there. And then I know that I need to cut it out here, so I'm going to cut it just along there. Now it looks as though I've cut a line around the outside of the sticker, but if I click on this, it's still connected. And the reason for that is that the sheet actually goes up to this line and out to this line. So what you need to do is cut all the way to the end of that. And if you're not sure where that sheet ends, the best and easiest thing to do is select the whole sheet and your cut lines so that they stay where they're supposed to be, and drag it off the canvas to the gray background where you can see the edge of the white sheet. And then all you need to do here is select your knife tool again, and you just need to extend your cut line out to there. Now, you do have to make sure that the cut lines line up. So there's a chance that if we click this, it would still be all selected, and then you just add a whole bunch of cut lines until you figure it out. But we did that one. So we can now select this whole thing and drag it over, and we'll take the fills out of these. You don't have to put those fills in either if you can see it well enough. I just don't like accidentally cutting through one of my cut lines, because then it's going to leave the cut line in pieces too, and that's not what you want. It'll skip those cuts when you send it through the machine. So there you go. That is a box, or a double box, with the bleed still on it. And again, you can come in here and you can just cut and clean up those white lines. You can select all the bits that you don't need, and there you have a decently clean box. It also left a little bit here. That's fine, we don't need it. It's still got a decent bleed on it. And then you can print and cut from there. All right, hopefully that has given you a good idea of how to crop your stickers with Silhouette Studio. Let's move into Cricut Design Space now. All right, moving over into the Cricut Design Space software, I am going to show you 3 different ways that you can crop your stickers. They're all going to achieve the same things as we did in Silhouette Studio. We're gonna go about them a slightly different way. So I already have my transparent PNG loaded into Cricut Design Space. If you want more of a tutorial about how to do that, then you can watch my last video as well. Each of these boxes is sized at 1.5 inches wide by 1.9 inches high, and that's what we want. That is the size of a standard vertical planner box. So what we're going to do is create the equivalent of the cut lines that we used in the Silhouette Studio portion of this tutorial. And to do that, we're going to come over here and click on Shapes, and then choose the square. So that's going to give you a perfect square, which is obviously not the size we want, and that's okay. We're going to click this little lock proportions button to unlock it up in the size panel, and we're going to change the dimensions to 1.5 inches wide by 1.9 inches high. So it's the same as one of these boxes. Now I'm going to change the color on this because I want it to stand out a little bit more against the black of the sticker background. And what I'm going to do is, if I want this box here, I'm just going to come up and I'm going to line it up as best I can with the box, and that looks pretty well aligned. And now what I'm going to do is select the whole thing, so the sticker sheet and the yellow box together, and I'm going to come down here and click the slice button. So click that and it sort of flashes and then comes back. It looks as though nothing has happened. However, it has. So if you come back over to your yellow box and drag it off, you're going to get one sort of outline. Then drag this off, you're going to get your yellow box, and then you can drag this one out. And that gives you just the sticker that you want. You can do this with more than one. So if you were to do a shape. Let's do one more. Actually, we can just use this one. So let's come back over here and say we want to do these two, this one and the one to the left of it, or sorry, to the right of it. We're just going to drag this out until it covers both boxes. That looks close enough. We're going to come down here, select it all, come down here and click slice, and then again we're going to get that outline with extra stuff we don't need. We can pull that away, and then this is now its own thing. Now it's still going to cut each of these as its own box, which is fine, that's what we want, but it's just a faster way than doing, if you wanted this whole row of 4 and not the top row, you could just pull your rectangle across all 4 of them, and then you would get the row of 4 boxes there. So that's really all you have to do to pull stickers out in Cricut. All right, here's what we're going to work on next. This is one of these sticker sheets from my old kit format that I'm going to use as an example. Often when you get printable sticker kits on Etsy and other websites, you will get a PNG or JPEG that does not have a transparent background and a blackout file. This blackout file is transparent, and it's essentially the cut lines for this sheet. So what you do for this is you make sure that they're the same size. So you would resize them to the same. So it's 4.83 by 6.9, and same with this one. Cricut files almost always come with the dimensions that you need to resize them to. Mine definitely do. And then what you're going to do is center these two. So the easiest way to do that is to select them both and then come over here to your align panel and click center horizontally, and then again, and center vertically. So what you can see is that has put the blackout file centered over the page, and it's gonna cut out around the sticker and cut out the bleed, which is the same thing that we did in Silhouette with the cut lines. On the ones where you can't see the color around it like you can with this one, that's just because there's an actual white outline around that sticker. So again, let me zoom out just a little bit here. So you will just select them both again now and click slice again. So we will end up with 3 different layers again, like we did in the first example. So we can drag off that blackout file. We can drag off this one, which is the actual sticker sheet. And then we have this one, which is the leftover stuff there. So now what we have here is the transparent file that we would need to be able to print and cut this on Cricut. And if you want to see where those cut lines are, because it's on a white background, so you can't necessarily see the white outline, you can just come over here to shapes and click that square, and then unlock the proportions and just drag this out to where you would like it. You can change the color to anything you like. Let's just make it blue, and then we can send this to back. So I just right clicked there to do that. And here you can see the white outline on those stickers, and you can see exactly where it's going to cut. Don't pay attention to the fact that that's a little bit transparent. It's an old file. So if we delete that, now we have the sheet that we would be able to cut. Now, what happens if you want only, say, this row of stickers here? That is also easy to do. All you would need to do now is grab another square and just drag it down here. I'm gonna unlock the proportions again and just drag that out so it covers everything that's in there. And then I am going to click select it all and click slice again. And again, we can see we've got the outline. So we can take that away, we can take that away, and then we can take that away too. And now we would just have these stickers here. And then you can just delete any of the portions of it that you don't want. So say we want nothing from this sheet except these 4 here. we could delete the rest of it. If we decide we want this row of stickers, we can do the exact same thing. And then we're going to delete the bits we don't want. So let's delete that and that and that, and we are left with that. We're going to come back to this in just a minute. I'm going to wrap it all up by showing you how to bring it all together and maximize your print and cut space on the Cricut. Before we do that though, I want to show you one last way that you can use non-transparent PNGs to create your Cricut files. And it's the exact same thing we did in the first example and really the second example. We're just going to, rather than add a blackout file that's been provided, we're going to create our own. And all I am doing here is creating the same rectangles as I did in the last step, and then duplicating them so that there are 9 that cover all 9 of the boxes here. So what we have now are these 3 rows of boxes, and we're going to use these to cut out the shapes of the stickers. But before we do that, we need to unite these all into one piece so that it knows to slice all of them out together. So I'm going to click and then shift and select all 3 of them. And I'm going to come down here to combine, and I'm going to click weld. And that's going to make this one shape. And now I can do the same thing I did in the other examples and just select them both and come here and click slice. And that is going to give me the whole sheet together with my transparent PNGs in the right size. And then this part we can delete. All right, to tie it all together now, I'm going to show you how you can lay out all of these things to maximize your print and cut space. Right now we have 5 different elements here from the stickers that we created. I've also added these 5 blue boxes over here. We're going to pretend those are other stickers. You'll see why in a second. So I have this here. This is taking up an awful lot of space, right? It's taking up like 12 inches by 6 inches. But the Cricut Design Space print and cut area is only 9.25 by 6.75. So all of that is not going to fit as it is on one sheet into that space. What Cricut does, if you click the make button, is it arranges things the way that it thinks it should go and will separate things onto more than one sheet or mat if it doesn't all fit. So if I click the make it button, we're just going to choose the mat for this, you will see that it's put all of these on one sheet here. And then if we click this one, we can see our 5 blue boxes there. But we have space here that we could potentially put some of these. So let me show you what to do to make it all fit on one page. What I'm going to do is create a box the same size as the Cricut print and cut area. So we are going to make it 6.75 by 9.25, and I'm just going to bring that over here, zoom out a little bit, and then we will send this to the back so that we can start placing things on top of it. So I know that I want these 3 boxes. I know that I want these ones here and those, and I know that I want all of these. And so we can see now, let me bring this more into the middle of the screen, we have quite a bit of space left that we can add things to. So I am going to just, well, I can actually undo that and pull them all over at once, make sure I'm leaving enough space. And there we go, there's still space. You could put a whole bunch more stickers in here and it would still all fit on one sheet within the Cricut print and cut area. Now, if we were to just hit make it, now, which I'm going to in a second, it's still going to distribute all of these things the way that it thinks it should, because it doesn't know that we've arranged them in this manner. It's also going to add this box that we added here. So let me show you. So now we have one sheet that's laid out the same way that it wanted to lay it out before. We have a second sheet with our big gray rectangle, and now we have a third sheet with our smaller squares. That's not what we want at all. So click cancel. We're going to delete this entirely. And then we're going to select everything, and we're going to hit attach, which is basically like grouping it. Now, if you were to move this around, you can see that it moves all as one piece. And it doesn't matter where you place it on the canvas here. When you click make it, now it's put all of that on one sheet. Now, Cricut will bring up these registration marks, the thick rectangle around it, based on the size of the actual item that you've placed on it. And of course, it considers this now one item. So this shows as though it's a smaller space. However, if we went back and brought our square back, I just undid until I got the square, we can see that we would be able to fit more things on here. And if we took one of these squares and duplicated it and brought it right down here, we could still remove that, select the whole thing, click attach, and then click make it, and it would extend it and still fit all on one page. So that is how you crop your stickers and maximize your print and cut area in both Cricut Design Space and in Silhouette Studio. I hope that this has been a helpful tutorial. Feel free to leave questions in the comments below. If you were joining us for the premiere and you were live with us, thank you. I will be back in a few weeks with another tutorial. And of course, if there are specific things that you are wanting to learn about, please let me know in the comments below. It can be print and cut type things for printable stickers or anything else planner related as well. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up on your way out. I will see you all again soon. Bye, friends.